Hey, I'm your Wegener and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. Last week I said I was tossing up between either a silver or an orange iPhone 17 Pro, and so this week I went to the Apple Store and got myself a blue one. In person, I just found this to be the nicest and most subtle color. I also liked the orange, but it was just a bit too much for me, and the silver just looked a little bit too white. So the blue just seemed to be a nice compromise. I also got myself a case for the phone, a Taurus O-Stand Q3 case, which sits nicely on the phone, feels nice in my hand, and the blue color also nicely matches the phone. And what I like the most about it is this little stand in the back. You can either hold it very nicely in your hand, which will come in handy when I'm photographing, and of course you can also use it to stand the phone in different orientations on a table or wherever else you want to stand it. So all in all, I'm quite happy with my choices. Now that you've seen the phones maybe in person as well, what's your favorite color? I definitely didn't like the blue online, but in person I found it to be the nicest color. But the biggest question, of course, is was it worth upgrading from my totally trashed iPhone 13 Pro to the 17 Pro? And so far I must say yes. I often use my phone as an emergency camera in the field when I'm just out and about, and in those situations the 13 Pro was okay, but the image quality was definitely lacking. And I'm happy to say that with the 17 Pro this has dramatically improved. The images overall have decent detail and are not over sharpened or too pixelated. And even the 8x zoom still gives us surprisingly decent images. Overall, for photos, the camera is definitely already an improvement, and for video I also found the camera to deliver us much better results overall. First of all, it's fantastic to be able to basically zoom from 0.5 magnification all the way to 8x magnification and still get pretty decent video quality. Of course, it's not like using a high-end full-frame camera with a high-end lens, but at the same time, these results are definitely adequate and more than usable for social media or YouTube. For videos in particular, I actually found it quite useful to use the Blackmagic camera app instead of the Apple camera app. It gives me more control over the videos, I have different frame rates available, and I also feel like the files out of the camera actually look slightly better with that app. I also did a few side-by-sides with my old phone, and I must say the image quality overall has dramatically improved. The old phone looks quite over-sharpened and pixelated, whereas the new phone gives us much better details and just an overall much more pleasant to look at image. If you have a Canon, Nikon or Sony camera and you're not quite sure how to set it up or it doesn't perform the way you want it to, I have great news for you, because I finally managed to upload all my brand new setup guides to my website. In the past I only had Canon guides, but now I also added a lot of Nikon cameras and Sony camera setup guides that will help you to get the absolute best out of your camera and get peak performance in situations where it matters the most, like fast action. In my guides, I show you in great detail how to set up your camera, the most important settings to change so you can get the best possible performance out of your body. And the best part is that where possible, I'm also providing you with my own camera setup files that you can simply put onto a memory card, stick it into your camera, and then install all my settings onto your camera with just one click. So if you want to quickly supercharge your camera and turn it into a real powerhouse, my guides are definitely the way to go. Over the last few days, I edited a set of images of a quite unusual bird here in Australia, the brush turkey. Most people think they're just black, red and yellow, but up north on the Cape York Peninsula they also come with a purple neck or purple wattle. And in certain areas there's even plain white birds around, which are even more special. Unfortunately, the white bird is no longer with us because it lived in a very popular tourist spot right on one of the biggest roundabouts, and it loved going for a walk on the main street. When he didn't go for a stroll, most of his days he actually spent raking together any leaves or sticks he could find to build his massive nesting mound. And the interesting thing about these birds is that the males build the big nesting mound, dig hollows into it, then the females come mate with the male, lay the eggs into the holes, the male closes it up again, and then the temperature of the leaves rotting away basically is what breeds out the eggs. And then the chicks will hatch and they are independent from day one. So when it comes to parenting, the brush turkeys are definitely very hands-off. And would you have thought that out of all the photos I've taken, a brush turkey is the one that gets picked to be put on an official Australia Post stamp? I definitely didn't think that that would happen, but it was something that I was very excited about. Not too long ago, I posted an editing video that I think will be very beneficial for most of you watching. I show you how you can simply use 5 sliders and 3 easy masks in Camera Raw and Lightroom to get high-end results quickly. And if you want me to show you more of these techniques and many more that will have a dramatic impact on the final look of your raw images, I would recommend that you check out my Lightroom and next generation Photoshop masterclasses. In these classes, I teach you step by step and in easy to follow chapters my workflow that you can apply to all your raw images and get fantastic results every single time, even from your most difficult to edit files. But of course, you won't just be watching, because I'm also providing you with my own raw files so you can edit right alongside me. And if you're not sure if my classes are worth it or the right fit for you, check out some of the amazing reviews that I receive on a daily basis from many happy students who I've helped to transform their editing lives, who now love image editing and get great results every time. I know image editing is something that many of you like to avoid or brush aside or think it's not necessary, but with the right workflow and the right tweaks, you can truly transform your raw images, and even dull and boring files can suddenly turn out to be stunners. So if you're fed up with not knowing how to edit your images or how to get the best results from them, my masterclasses will be a great starting point to get you on your way, because I know they will help you a lot to develop that crucial workflow and get great results that will make you very happy. This week we've also witnessed the end of an era and possibly the end of the DSLR camera era, with Canon officially discontinuing or retiring the flagship DSLR camera, the 1DX Mark III. To be honest, personally I was quite surprised that they were still selling the camera and also selling it at full price and at a similar price to the current R1. Now that also makes me wonder what will happen to the remaining DSLR cameras that they are still selling new, like the 5D Mark IV for instance. Now, there's nothing wrong with DSLR cameras, but I think at the same time, if I was buying new, I would definitely gravitate towards a mirrorless camera, because you're future-proofing yourself and you're also getting better overall performance, especially when it comes to speed and autofocus. Being a lover of silent shooting, I definitely enjoy the fact that there's less and less obnoxiously loud cameras around me in the field. Speaking of loud shutter sounds, that seems to be something that is not going to happen in the upcoming R7 Mark II. Because Canon Rumors posted an article this week with some new insights into the camera, and one fact they seem to be quite certain about is that the camera will not come with a mechanical shutter. Now at first glance that's not a problem, cameras like the Z8 or the Z9 don't have a mechanical shutter, but there's one fact in particular that kind of confuses me about this whole situation, because they also said they think the camera will not have a stacked sensor. And then that made me think, having a camera with not a stacked sensor and also no mechanical shutter kind of forces you to obviously shoot with the electronic shutter, but at the same time also have a decent amount of rolling shutter and no way to kind of avoid that. So while we obviously don't know for sure yet whether the R7 Mark II will come with a mechanical shutter and a stacked sensor or not, leaving both out definitely seems like a bit of a strange choice. The only way I could see this actually working is if Canon somehow made a super fast non-stacked sensor, which seems unlikely, or they come up with maybe some partially stacked sensor like we see in a Z6 Mark III. Because I think to be able to only use the electronic shutter, you would have to have a readout speed that's under that sort of 9 or 10 milliseconds. Sensor-wise, it seems like the R7 Mark II will stay in that sort of 32-33 megapixel range, which I think is good because hopefully they can improve the image quality at high ISOs, something that would likely take a hit if we got much more megapixels. And body-wise, it seems like the design will go away from what it currently is and more closely in line with maybe the R6 Mark II or the upcoming R6 Mark III. One thing I liked reading is that we hopefully get an upgraded EVF. The one in the current R7 is adequate, but it would be nicer to get a much bigger, brighter and also higher resolution EVF. But with all these new specs in mind, are you more excited or less excited about the R7 Mark II? Let me know down there in those comments. One camera that's definitely coming in the next little while that I'm quite excited about to review is the Sony A7V. And Sony Alpha Rumors has actually posted the first photos of that camera, so we know for sure that it exists. From what we've been reading and seeing, it seems like ergonomically the camera will stay more in line with the A7 IV rather than something like the A1 II or the A9 III, which is a little bit of a shame because the newer Sony bodies that are a bit more rounded lie fantastically in your hands and are amongst the best on the market. So ideally I would like to see the style adjusted slightly towards the A1 Mark II for instance, but at the same time it makes sense for Sony maybe to keep a slightly different body shape. What's great to see though is that the camera will likely have Sony's fantastic rear LCD screen design that you can basically tilt and fold in all directions, which is definitely the best design on the market. Sensor-wise, it seems to get very interesting because the source showed a photo of a 33 megapixel sensor. Now there still seems to be some confusion around that, and we don't know whether it's a stacked, non-stacked or partially stacked sensor, but there's also the likelihood that it could simply be the similar or slightly improved sensor from the current A7 IV. Currently, I feel like where the A7 IV struggles the most is the frames per second and also the rolling shutter in the electronic shutter mode. So I would definitely love to see some big improvements there, and here a stacked or partially stacked sensor would definitely help to achieve that. However, we don't know for sure yet what's going to happen, and Sony has shown the willingness to reuse sensors in the A1 Mark II and the A7R5, so it may happen in the A7 V as well. Either way, I'm looking forward to holding that camera in my hand and making a review for all of you guys. Speaking of Sony, they've also recently hiked the prices in the US again, up to $400 on certain camera models, which is definitely not great to see. This week I also got myself another backpack from my favorite brand, Naya Evo. This is their fourth version of their popular Fjord backpack, and it has a few changes. For instance, the compartment here at the top is much bigger now, and the zipper is on the other side. So if you lie it on the ground, it's actually now on top rather than on the bottom on some of the old backpacks. So overall, I love this design because it fits my 600mm prime lens with the camera attached in here, and it's also carry-on size. So when I've been traveling lately, I've always been using this style backpack, and it's worked fantastically well for me. When you buy yourself a Naya Evo backpack, like in my case the Fjord 60C, you buy the outside shell, the backpack, and then you also have the option to buy several of these RCIs. In my case, this is the extra large RCI. And in these RCIs, you could either use the dividers that come with them, or you can get their grumblers that actually allows you to cut them right into the shape that you need, which I find quite good and use most of the time because it allows me to build exactly the dividers that I need. Another item I got is the extra small RCI, and I've actually 3 of these now, and they come with a carry strap as well. And what I love about it is that you can take your R5 100 to 500mm lens, and it fits perfectly into this tiny little bag, and I can just hang it around my shoulder, and it basically looks like nothing. And this is also great for travel because sometimes I just put this in my suitcase and it's pretty well protected. So if you're in the market for a new backpack that will fit all your gear, is also carry-on size, or maybe some cool accessories like these pouches or the extra small RCIs to carry your 100 to 500, check out the Naya Evo website down there in the description and the special discount code. And on that note, I think it's a great time for you guys to let me know in the comments, what is your favorite camera backpack? I obviously like the Naya Evo packs, but I'm sure there's some other fantastic brands out there. So share that with me. Also, please share all your other thoughts about the video down there in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up, check out my channel membership and masterclasses, and of course, hit that subscribe button so we can grow our community, and I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye!